script.
Feeling some kind of way. Sorry. I was really feeling it.
You don't have to apologize.
Oh Lord, don't make
I didn't know you was gonna break out the whole gospel
you
solo.
Understand? Ooh, say it, y'all, with me. Say it. Ah!
Not the
You ever have one of those days? Ooh, Lord.
Yes, Kenya with the vocals.
Thank you.
I think I'm gonna put in a disclaimer when I edit. Back away from your headphones.
I know.
I want y'all to know that when I call Kenya, or I see that she has called, if I know I'm in the mood, because it's not her. Because see, I call her for that. But if I know I'm in the mood, I just take the earbuds out.
Yeah.
Cause I
know the deal.
Because
I
know
volume on low.
Right. I know she gonna be like, hey. And
those sounds energize me.
But then I just did
certain
it.
people.
I just did. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put in the show notes. Here we go. Show notes. We scream a lot.
Get ready.
Episode.
Yes, that came from nowhere and everywhere.
Show notes. We are loud in this episode. Period.
Oh boy.
Hey people.
Yes, good day.
How y'all doing?
Or evening from wherever you are.
Right.
Hello, Jumbo in Kenya. Hola in Spain. Konnichiwa in Japan. Bon dia in Brazil.
Wait, we added Mexico.
Hola again.
And France.
Bonjour, ça va?
This is Harmonize, the podcast.
Yes, the podcast.
Where we talk about all of the ways we harmonize our lives. We talk about being black,
being a mother,
being a woman,
being a wife,
being a Christian,
being all these things.
And a performing artist.
Yes, and more. And just more and more and more and more and more.
And how we make it all harmonized, because balance is a lie.
Yes, it is. It is a complete lie.
I'm so sorry to bust the whole holistic community's bubble.
Yes, you got busted and squashed.
Busted. You busted. You busted.
Now we need a rapper.
I know, right? All right. So today, as you can tell, we are
we're calm after the back to school.
Yes.
I think that's what it is. It's the calm.
We back to school has settled in.
Yes. Settled as settled could be.
Right. We talked about staying black and protecting your magic.
Yes, yes.
As they say on the Friend Zone pod.
Yes. Hey, Friend Zones.
How y'all doing? Oh, I didn't tell you, girl. I wrote, okay, so I have a confession.
I think there needs to be a plug in here.
No.
I wish I could.
I wrote a letter to all of our faves last week, to the Read and the Friend Zone and Getting Grown Pod and Jaden XD. I wrote them a joint letter because I'm not going to send the letter to 4 different podcasts and all of y'all are friends anyway.
Right.
So I just wrote them a joint letter and I was like, hey, y'all. Thank you so much for doing what you do.
Yes, keep it up. Keep it up.
We love you.
We love you so much.
Helped me, keep my life together this year. And,
helped keep calm, kept us laughing.
Sane.
Yes.
Encouraged
Gave us some
me.
good tips.
Listen, encouraged me to go find a therapist.
Yeah.
As you encouraged the hundreds of thousands of millions of people who listen to you.
But in Nina mode, she just acts on it. She acts on everything. She's an actor, so that's what she does. She just acts.
See what you did there.
Okay.
And
I could dance on it.
Right, all the things. But I was also very serious. Like those podcasts were a serious tool for me this year in doing, the keeping of the joy that we talked about last episode. And I really just wanted to express my gratitude. So I wrote them all a letter and I was like, hey friends. Yeah. Or as they say on Getting Grown Pod, hey play cousins, what's up?
Yes.
And I was like, Nina and Kenya love y'all, and we just want to say, hey! It's like, I know this could sound like weird or stalkerish, like, hey, this podcast is saying thank you to your podcast, but it was sincere, and I think that they will know that it was.
We just want to acknowledge you.
Exactly. So
know that you are loved from podcaster to podcaster.
Hey now. Anywho,
yes.
So all of the things are still happening. The world is still burning down around us.
Yes, it is.
And at the same time, you know,
didn't Nero when
Lord.
Rome was
Lord.
burning? Wasn't he playing the violin? And they were doing. They were also doing. And it's not praise dance because they had that back. Well, you know, not like that. It was what do you call it with the white face? I don't know why I can't remember. It's white face and the they
mime.
do it in mime. They were miming.
They remind me.
And playing the violin as the city was burning down.
Yeah. Yes.
How about that for art?
Right.
You could. The city could burn all the way around you,
right.
and you know you could still find a way to express yourself.
That's right. So, you know, we're processing. That's what we're doing,
yes.
and that's what today's episode is about. You know, processing. And
love the process.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard.
You're gonna go through it. That's the whole thing. You don't have a choice. As long as you breathe in and out and in again, you're going through a process.
Oh wait, let's take a deep breath in now.
Yes, take a deep breath. Breathe in.
Relax your eyes.
Breathe out.
If y'all wait a minute. Do it again.
Breathe in. Breathe out.
I'm putting it on Instagram.
Excuse me. Don't snort when you laugh.
So y'all can see the crazy face she is making right now. As she breathes in and out. But you know, a lot is going on. I am feeling the effects of Houston. Kenya and I were talking. Yesterday was the anniversary of Katrina, and you know, I purposefully do not commit that date to memory, but my body knows every year, and I always am feeling weird and like I have to cry and anxious and all the things, and then somewhere, you know, in the middle of that day when I hop on Facebook or Twitter or something, I'm like, oh, it's this day. And, you know, then I kind of know what's happening. And, you know, we talked for a long time. She listened to me rant and rail and fuss about people. Why didn't they just leave? And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
I think people are just shut up because
weird that way.
Well,
they really
yeah.
are.
I mean,
they just so in a not know. They just don't know. It's like you have that. This is, and please don't take offense or do. I don't really care. But that friend who tries to help you parent, who's never had children or never even doesn't like them, won't watch them. And they will give you all kinds of advice. Not even your friend. It's like that
some
that
random person.
A stranger.
Yeah.
I like you could deal with a friend.
Yeah.
But a stranger that comes up to you and says, you know what you should do with your child and your feelings and your situation. That's a lot of what I hear when I hear people make those types of
right. And you know, just thinking about the logistics of evacuating a city of 4 million people. Especially when, you know, they just didn't know that it was going to do what it did. You know, because by the time...
Tell us about that.
Well,
tell us about what it's like
the
to really be in
hurricane...
a hurricane season.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Cleveland and we get tornadoes. We don't get hurricanes.
Okay, so I have, not including Katrina, before Katrina, lived through 8 different hurricanes. You know, like, I remember during Andrew... which barely touched New Orleans. You know, Florida and Mississippi got the worst of Andrew, but Andrew, I remember during Andrew, so you know how the backyards can face each other, right, to houses. So not on my side of the street, but across, directly across the street from our house, there was a house behind it that got picked up and sat on top of it.
Oh my.
And I mean that, I've seen that. Cleveland has snow days. In New Orleans, we have rain days, because the city is shaped like a bowl. We have the river, we have the Gulf, we have both lakes, we have the canals. People are starting to hear now about the pumps not working. I'm 41. The pumps ain't never worked. The pumps never worked, okay? Every time it rained, all the power goes out, and you can't do nothing. So you just got to stay home.
I think I remember you sending an article where much of the frustration is that they've given up. The people of New Orleans and the people in those type of areas have, given up on help because these problems are the same problems.
Well, and it's not so much that they've given up on help, but it's like when it is the reality of the situation, you don't view it the way people who don't live it view it.
Right.
So it's not that we have given up on help. People may have lost faith in certain government officials to do certain things, but they still hold their feet to the fire. I mean, and the thing is, what's hard about watching Harvey for me is knowing that so many people who were in Katrina are now in Texas. So on the anniversary of the trauma, which, by the way, they still have not recovered from. Okay, not completely. I mean, the Garden District, the Tourist District, the French Quarter, all that, yeah, that's fixed. But there are still areas of the Lower Ninth Ward that where the closest hospital is 30 miles away. So they are still recovering from Katrina, right? And so those who, for example, my step uncle Sanford, and his wife and her daughter were in the dome, and they were in the dome, and buses pulled up and were like, everybody get on these buses. These buses are going to Texas. And the thing is, and so at the time, Nita's daughter was like 17, so she's about grown, so they weren't necessarily like together, and they were just like, everybody get on these buses. Well, he wound up in Austin. Nita wound up in Dallas, and the daughter wound up in Fort Worth. Well, if you know anything about Texas, everything is a minimum of 2 to 4 hours away from each other.
Texas is big,
right? So it's like, thank goodness he had a mind like a steel trap and called my daddy and was like, so I need y'all to come get me, and then we gotta figure out where the girls at, and but that was the reality for months. Wow. For many people, like we found everybody we were looking for within a 3.5-4 week period. I have friends who didn't find their people till 6 months down the line. People got sent to Oklahoma, people got sent to, or they got sent everywhere.
Cleveland.
They got sent everywhere, right? So the thing is, it's like I'm so, and I have some friends who either, they stayed out for so long and then they moved back, or whatever it is. But the thing is, anytime we all got PTSD from the storm. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, right.
That's the easiest way to describe it. Mm-hmm. So it's like to see a lot of them, because I have survivor's remorse about Katrina, because I wasn't there and I was in Cleveland watching it on TV and, trying to find people. But I have friends who were in it, who were physically there, and now they're in Houston, and, we're all, like checking in, but not trying to obsessively watch the news again. Because it was days and days and days and days and days. I was glued to that screen. And it's like anytime I had a break, I was at a TV, at a radio, on Facebook, whatever, trying to figure out where people were, how people were doing. And it is really hard not to do it. You know, it's like I got all these group texts with my cousins, and, you know, we all checking in, like, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? How's the rain? Where's the water? You know, all of that. And, you know, I got people who, I mean, you got family there, you know, you know, so that is what it is. And then here come people. Here come people. They should have just left. And the thing is, it's like the hurricane didn't hit Houston, y'all.
Right.
It was already. It had, you know, been, what do they call it? Downgraded down back to a tropical storm. The hurricane did not hit Houston, and they were told by the National Weather Service that it wasn't coming and not to evacuate.
Right.
Because you can't put 4 to 6 million people on the road at the same time. So keep in mind, from one major city to another major city in Texas during normal traffic,
oh my God,
it's 4 hours.
The worst traffic in the world. Houston.
But if you put the entire city on the road in bad weather, it's going to take 8 to 12. So you don't want people dying on the road. And this is the other part. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, go
I
on.
might edit it out, but I'm going to just get it out.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. The average cost of, we'll say, an affordable hotel, motel a night, if you need one bed, is like $48. If you need two, you can say you might be able to get one for somewhere between like $75 and $100, right? If it's you and another adult and 2 kids, maybe even 3 kids if one of them small, right? For an indefinite amount of time. So you don't know how many clothes to take. You don't know, because you don't know how long. You don't know how long it's gonna last.
Right.
So let's just say we have a $3,000 emergency fund. Let's just say life is good and we got $3,000 stored away. That's going to be gone in 7 days.
Right.
Because you got to stay at the hotel. You got to eat. You either got to wash clothes or buy new clothes. God forbid it's a baby and you got to get Pampers and a formula or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's going to be gone. In 7 to 10 days, it's gone. So then what do? Because what if you can't go back yet? So, you know, it's like, and that was the situation in New Orleans too. It's like, okay, we could go, but go where?
Yeah, right.
For how long?
Right.
And what I'm supposed to take? And I'm sorry, are all of y'all doomsday packing? Everybody got like a suitcase full of clothes for everybody with 2-3 changes of clothes and drawers and everything, and emergency money and a gun and a knife and whatever else.
What if you're not at home when this happens?
What if you're not at home?
What if you can't make it to your home?
What if you out of town?
Oh yeah.
You know, what if you have ailing parents?
Yeah.
Who are in a home? Who are you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just to say they should have left. Shut up. Just shut up. You know, and so it's like I could do this all day. I could do this all day because people do not take into account at all what happens to people, number one, who are in poverty.
Right.
Number two, who are below the poverty line, working class people, even middle class people. This is one of those things that it could set you back for years. 3 days can set you back for years.
For all that you've worked on for your life, it can set you back.
So, and you know, and the last thing they need to hear is you should have left.
Okay, you should have.
You should have shut up. That's what you should have did. You should have shut the hell up.
How you feel? A little. Did you get some of it out?
I got some of it out.
You know what? Though I can identify with it only a little bit because I was in New York during 9/11.
That's not a little bit. That's a lot of bit.
That's a lot of bit. But here's the difference though with 9/11. With 9/11, my body too reacts on that date. and a lot of times I don't think about it, and, like I said, I'm from Cleveland. We don't get hurricanes. So when I moved to New York City, and we would always seem to have a hurricane on my birthday, September 16th, y'all. I wear medium still, and I like chocolate and wine. But when I would get this, it would always come on my birthday. So I always knew, at that point I knew to prepare to not to go to work. Like I understood what it meant to have a rain day or a flood day in the city. That makes sense, because when you have stuff, water coming up out of the tracks and those wonderful little items in the subway system that floats for days and days with the smell too, you tend to understand why it's probably not a good day to go out. Okay. So when 9/11 happened on this beautiful sunny day, it was, we could go into that, but it was bad. That's all I can say at this point. It's bad. So my body kind of reacts every September. I think about it and I'm like, why am I feeling so weird? Why do I feel so anxious? Why am I feeling? Oh, that's why. Now the difference I think with 9/11 is, though it feels like it happened yesterday, it really was 17 years ago. And it feels like it happens yesterday, but it doesn't reoccur. It doesn't reoccur, thankfully. Right. But it doesn't reoccur. And I think what's so frustrating about the hurricane seasons in the Gulf area is that, hurricanes come. That's what is Mother Nature. That's okay. I think what's upsetting is the knowledge has been there. The news has been put out. The people are talking, all of that is happening. And then the people who need to listen or need to be aware are not listening, are not aware continuously year after year. And then someone's making a really crude, in their eyes might be innocently, but for someone who's living in these areas, they're making really crude remarks, and they don't know what they're talking about. And this happens year after year. I mean, like, you can learn from, if anything, if you don't know anything about hurricanes or anything of that at all, the least you could do is learn from Katrina. The whole country stopped for Katrina. And how long ago was Katrina? Find out what was going on then. And you still want to act like you don't know today. Right. Unless you were a kid and you just started to think, and form words. Right. And then you decided to ask a question on Facebook. Okay, I can even understand that.
Yeah, 2005.
So that's 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2005?
It was 2005, yeah.
Okay, so because Jordan was born then.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, all of that to say, if you don't know, don't make these big, I don't think people understand how we speak so much in hyperbole, in the media and everything. So it's like everybody. No, it's not everybody.
Yeah.
What you actually mean is 200 people. Don't say everybody. Right. So I think people a lot of times don't have a concept of how many people live in a city.
Yeah.
And what it would logistically take to organize that. Some places have to be ready to receive people. So don't do that. Just don't say that kind of stuff. You don't have something nice to say, shut the hell up.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna put the poem I wrote yesterday on the Facebook page, because eventually that's what I had to do. It's because I'll just talk forever and it'll be a dissertation and people stop listening. And we did a whole episode on artist self-care, and it's you know what to do, Nina. So I wrote a poem and I felt better after that. But
that is putting your artist to work, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Had to put it to work.
Like we said in the beginning, the city is burning. Nina's writing a poem.
Right. Oh.
Yes, that's how we do it.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things we do. That is part of the process. And it's one of the things Kenya and I were talking the other day, we were on the phone, and we're like, oh man, this is the podcast. We should have been recording this. And she
Take your notebooks out.
Right. She's like, write down the notes. So we had to get that out. before we hop all the way into the episode. But you know, one of the things about process, and which, you know, we're not off topic, is that it's constant. Processing your life doesn't end.
No.
That's constant. Like, you know, and I think, honestly, and this is something I discovered about myself this year, that one of the reasons I am drawn to and love theater is because there is a definitive beginning and ending.
Yeah.
And then I can process that ending, because one of the things I felt was robbed from me as a child was grieving my mother. And I didn't truly start to grieve my mother until I was in my 30s and wrote Your Mama. It was like through the process.
I was around for that.
Yes, you were.
And you know what? That was it was hard, but it was beautiful to watch it in the making.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's through that process, because it's a thing that you intellectually know. Like, I was 4, so I didn't go to the funeral, you know. I wasn't present at the hospital when she died, you know, certain things like that. So, like, I know intellectually that I didn't have a traditional, you know, Western grief process, you know, because I didn't go to the funeral and I didn't see her buried, and, you know, I didn't get to quote unquote say goodbye in that kind of formalized ritualistic way. So, like, I knew and understood that, but I did not understand that I hadn't actually emotionally grieved her. And a lot of that has to do with the circumstance of her death and you know, the way that everyone reacts to suicide and how those things happen. But, you know, and one side of the family had one response and the other side of the family had another response. And in the middle, you know, I was there watching her be erased and not understanding what to do with that. And so then I tried to erase her myself, but, you know, she's always there. Right. And then through the process of the play, it's like, no, this is the thing. This is the thing that I have to touch. Right. This is the thing that I have to acknowledge, because if I don't do this, I'm never going to get through it. And then I was able to begin grieving her. So the thing about theater is that you say, we're going to do a play. You audition for the play. If you get the part, you're in the play. You do the table work. You begin blocking. You build your character. You get your costumes. You go through tech. You get lights. You get sound. You get cues. You perform the play. People clap. The play closes.
You get paid even sometimes.
Right, you get paid. No, all the time now. We don't do that no more.
All the time. Yeah.
We don't do that no more. You get paid.
And life is good.
Right. You cash your check.
Right.
You have a closing night party. Yeah. And then it ends. And then you begin the process of putting the play away. And so like, because that is like now my life's work, I constantly get to see things through from beginning to end and come out on the end okay.
Can I say something? Yeah. When you were coming up with this process, when you first decided that you wanted to do a play about motherhood, because again, we've kind of been doing this type of podcast situation before its time. Yeah. And I remember when you were doing Your Mama, originally it was about one thing, and in the process of it, it became something where you were able to grieve.
Well, yeah. Originally, I thought it was going to be a hilarious comedy about how cute my children are, you know.
And how, at that time, how you balance.
Yes.
Because you even had a picture of you juggling.
That's
Remember
right.
that? Because you were balancing. It was a picture of you juggling.
It was a picture of me balancing on a ball.
Yep.
With all the things in the air.
Because you were balancing at the time.
That's what I was
like, I'm going to write a
play about balance.
Motherhood. And I remember the day when you were like, I said, how did the rehearsal go? And you were like, I was like, hello? Is this Nina or Frankenstein that I'm talking to? Yeah. You were like, oh, my director Kathy,
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, and by the time you were done telling me, I was crying. I was on the floor because I'm never really. I'm supportive in the fact that I will cry with you. You're
Yes,
not
you
going to
will.
be I'm not going to be the person to say, hold it together. I'm going to be like, here's some tissue. You want some chocolate? Let's get some tissue with chocolate. This is so terrible. I can feel for you. Oh my gosh. Right. Yeah. So yes, I remember that.
So that.
So it took a turn.
It took a turn
During the process.
Mm-hmm. And that was that was 10 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
and now, well, almost 10. Mm-hmm. But I this year, as I was as I have been going through therapy and figuring out some other things and reevaluating and reprioritizing the importance of art in my life, that's one of the things that I discovered, is that, I'm drawn to this particular process as an artist because there's a beginning and an end. And I like being able to go through the end, process the ending, grieve it, and come out on the other side of the grief okay.
Right.
And most times come out on the other side of the grief joyful. And being able to do that over and over and over and over again has become a ritual, has become healing in and of itself.
Right.
And part of the reason that I resigned from my position
You're so awesome.
is because the particular kind of work that I was doing in that administrative position was not like that. There was no end in sight, and there will never be an end in sight. And
That is what I went through too.
Yes, it is.
What I'm sorry, but yes,
No,
that is
go.
I went through. One of the long-term residencies that I had, that's what it was. And I found, it got to the point where I didn't enjoy it. And let me finish my own sentence. It got to the point where I wasn't enjoying the end process because there never ever seemed to be an end. Mm-hmm. And even though we were, I was called to be a choreographer and do works, that was really, really good work. I missed out on a lot of the process because there was a lot of trauma happening during that time. And by that, what do I mean? By that meant that I never really felt like I got a good start. For example, if I was called to do choreography for, a play or a show, I'd be called, you're the professional. We want you to work with these particular children and, blah, blah, blah. Well, they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't always be there every day. And just, we're in a school setting and they wouldn't be there every day. Sometimes they wouldn't be there every week. Or if they were there every day, then their schedule allowed them to be someplace else. Or they had other life problems because I'm dealing with, kids who are there, these are public school kids. So the reality is that they have their own set of real life problems, and so I can't choreograph. I'm like, for instance, science for dancers, you can't choreograph if you don't have a body. I need a body. I need the same body every week, and I can't, I applaud choreographers who do the work and the dancer has to fit the body. I don't choreograph that way. I'm inspired by what I see in front of me. And so a lot of times I will see a body and move according to that body, but then I get all upset because when that body doesn't show up every week, and this is the kind of situation that I was given. And it's like, well, Kenya, we want you to do this, and that, and that. We want you to make a magical garden of lavender. But the only problem is we don't have dirt. We don't have sunlight. We only have rocks. The water we have doesn't happen every day. But it's rusty when it comes. Now, make your magic happen. And I'm like, I have to call on Jesus because I'm like, yo, you could change water to wine. I need you to do another miracle for me again.
Turn this rock into a person.
Yes, please turn this rock. And so the process was completely destroyed. I didn't even have a process. And I was working like this for years until, and it wasn't until that I wasn't seeing the return of my work. I see it a little bit in some of the people that I've worked with, but I didn't see the return of the work that I put in, I didn't feel like they were growing. I certainly wasn't growing. I was becoming deader and deader. And, and then by the end, I'm just depleted, so, and it wasn't until after all of that, they were being funny with my money, y'all. Being funny with my real funny. Have you ever had that as an artist? I know you have. Yes, I do. Say it loud. Okay. Anyway, but you get the point. Right. You got me singing, and I'm a dancer.
Right.
So it wasn't until then when it was like the money was so funny. I was like, well, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think it's really right for me.
Well, right.
And then, there ended the process.
Well,
but excuse me, you spit.
No, you're fine.
Okay, but the beautiful part of it is that that whole thing was a process that I can look back now and maybe start a new process.
Right. And the artistic process. Obviously, we are words. I have them. We are well practiced at that, and it's when you have to begin to apply that process to real life.
Oh,
and this is some of what we were talking about yesterday, whatever day that was, girl. We were talking, especially to parenting and marriage or relationships.
Child dance has come in handy.
Because you can stretch your leg. Okay, no.
That's right. Well, yes, it has. We can do, what's the term? SG instead of LG. Life is good. Right. Sex is good. SG.
Right. Oh my gosh. It is a reset button. It is necessary.
Okay.
Yes, it is. But also we were talking about the kids and like as soon as you feel like you gain mastery and you're like, okay, I know what to do with this now. The kid changes. So then you have to adjust because the kid changes. And so what was working before doesn't work anymore because now they're at a new stage of development.
Yes. And it no longer, it used to be a time where I knew chicken nuggets, mixed vegetables, applesauce. I was like, okay, I got it. Every night? Yes, every night. Cool. That's fine with me. Chicken nuggets, mixed vegetable, applesauce. Chicken nuggets, rice, mixed vegetables.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you could squeeze in another type of vegetable. String beans. Chicken patty. And mashed potatoes.
Right.
Well, not in our household.
But yeah.
But you know what?
You think you know what
it
is.
And then all of a sudden, my kids come to visit Nina. They've been telling me all this whole time, I don't like soup. I don't like gumbo. I don't like turkey burgers. And then they come over here and eat her out of all of her house and home. And then I go home and try to make the thing again. I'm like, we're running late. All we have is turkey meat. Maybe I can make sliders like Miss Nina. I don't like it.
Oh, no.
I don't like it. So I got to come up with a new process. You know what that process is? Chicken nuggets, mixed vegetables, and applesauce.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not jealous or bitter, Miss Nina.
It's okay. I know. I realized that. We were talking about that, though. And I think... I don't know if it was episode 3 or 4. One of those episodes we were talking about how, Jen Lay's at a certain stage, and I kind of took a breath because I was like, okay, no, she's okay. Like I like the choices she makes. I like the way she thinks. She's a good person. Like I like her as a person. I not just I love her as my kid. Yeah. It's like, okay, I think we're gonna be okay. And then I turn and look in the living room, and there's 4 more, and it's like, crap, I gotta do it 4 more times, and they're all different. And I realized when we were talking, and I think I said this to you, that because I am special, I'm one of God's special children. And things have to happen a certain way in order for me to understand.
Yes.
And what I have right now is a very broad range and spectrum of stages of development in my house. Because I got a 2-year-old. I got
a kindergartner.
You got
the whole gamut.
Right. I got a third grader. I got an almost middle schooler and a high schooler. And it's like, when Jinlei rolls her eyes at me.
Oh.
And then I see the 2-year-old, I remember that she used to be that. She was the cute one running around the house saying multisyllabic words in a little voice like that, and it tickled me and delighted me, And then I remember that she was that kindergartner, all bright-eyed and like, I learned this about the color red, and whatever it is. And I remember all those stages, and I'm able to look at her and not smack her eyes to the back of her head.
Yes, I'm so glad for that, because I still need her as a dancer, and for her to be on point with her eyeballs on the floor,
right, and
performing, and people are like, "What is that? What is she's about to step on her eyeball?" Oh yes, that was Miss Nina. She has smacked her eyeballs out of her head. Somebody please clear the stage.
Right, but or when the 5-year-old is, not getting out of the car.
Remember that episode, y'all? Remember that?
Not getting out of the car. And, and then I see her and remember she used to do that. And she is fine now. It's so I can see it. I can see it kind of all at once. And then it helps me to be calm and know that, it has the potential to be just fine, because I'm special like that. And I needed 5 examples in my house that I could see and touch, because it can okay. So now I have 3 children who are old enough and developed enough to wear deodorant.
Bless them.
And I'm just going to be... Listen, I'm going to just tell you, I'm not scared to have any kind of talk with Nalaya. I'm good. I am terrified of having any kind of puberty talk with Jahi. I am so happy that boy has a daddy.
Thank God. You know what? This is a pre-Father's Day special.
I mean, it's like,
if you don't have a man right now, go find you one just to talk to. You don't have to sleep with them. Just find you one to talk to your babies about those kinds of. You don't. That's a hard one, because I'm with you on that, because I have a 12-year-old.
I know. He went to bed and woke up a foot taller and with a deep voice.
Oh my gosh.
And Jordan really did. Like, that's a joke, thing that people say, but Jordan, it really looked like over the course of 1 week, he grew a foot.
He did. And his voice dropped.
He was like, "Hey, Miss Nina." End of the week, he was like, "Hey, Miss Nina, how you doing?" Like, oh.
But it's so funny, because he's still, I'm sure he's into stuff. I don't know. I don't ask anymore. But he's still kid enough to do stuff like...
no, he is a kid for real.
He really is a kid. And I think this is part of my anxiety, because I know, yes, I'm bringing race into this now. I just bring race into everything. You should see me now bringing race into Disney. I saw Goldie and Bear this morning.
Wait a minute.
I know we're about to go on a tangent.
Sidebar. Okay? Listen. Listen, we could have a whole episode about images in children's media, okay? How they are the devil.
Tigger and Pooh. I had a real problem with that, because I was like, why his name got to be Tigger? Why he got to be a Tigger? Why'd you call him Tiger? Okay, that's his real name, Tiger. It's not Tigger, all of these songs, because it's Tigger and Pooh. And now, I'm going off. Now they talk about Goldie and Bear. I was watching Goldie and Bear. I was like, first of all, I had a problem with Goldilocks. She came in, she broke into somebody's house, okay? Wrecked the furniture, got into everything, and then ate up all the food, and did not even... and then she
on that show,
and said she was sorry.
And look, on that show, the wolf's name is Big Bad.
Right.
And he a little bit too
you can hear, like,
he a little gangster.
You can hear that gangster in his voice.
Big Bad.
Big Bad. But I'm like, this, now they friends. Now all of a sudden she's friends, and she's still cutting up. She just cutting up
all over the place.
So now going back, I am sensitive, because when people look at Jordan, he's so tall, and he's, he has an element of street, but he's really, he's a suburban kid.
Yeah.
He's not, he is a suburban kid. And although half of his family lives in Queensbridge, you know, the other half is in a suburban part of Cleveland in Richmond Heights, you know, and so he has the best of both worlds, but we're very, you know, we watch what he's doing. He doesn't wear his pants a certain way. He doesn't speak a certain way.
Right.
He's really, and he doesn't know much about anything. Like, I'm trying to coach him on everything, even street life. And I, to be honest with you, I don't know all of that much myself, only by association.
Joseph.
That's why he got Joseph. But here's the thing though, when he goes into a classroom,
right,
with a woman or man who might not know that they may or may have a problem or issue with race. They may not know. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
Most of them don't because they're crazy. But
yes,
anyway.
they don't know. But, you know, but there's some who, you know, acknowledge it, you know, in their parenting are able to teach children because they are parents themselves. But, you know, it didn't occur to me until later in his life that people look at him as, you know, they advance him in age because he's a black kid, because he's a black boy. You know, so when he comes out, he comes, you know, out with me to events, and he makes friends everywhere that he goes, and he's like, my favorite song is Moana. I wish I could be the perfect daughter. You know, and people are cracking up because he's serious. He was like, this stuff is great. This rocks. But, you know, he likes that and Naruto and all of this other kind of stuff.
He has good taste because, after all, that is Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I mean, come on. He's got good taste. Yeah, he heard Hamilton for the first time.
Yes!
I didn't even introduce it to him. Shout out to David Stewart in Los Angeles, you and your new bride and your new baby to be. Yes, amen. But he took them to Cedar Point, and he played Hamilton, and he was like, I really like this. I didn't introduce it to him because, you know, whatever.
Right.
But anyways, getting back to the process, you know, having Jordan and going through those changes and I'm just glad that he has Joseph to go through those types of changes, because you've been able to see and touch and understand and feel what it looks like from a wide spectrum.
Right.
I have three. One is grown. She has a mother. So, you know, I still count you. I love you, Sade. But I have the two in the household that I'm raising, and part of the process that it's been with Jordan, and I've had to use a lot of dance technique to get me through this, okay? But part of the process is learning his learning style. And understanding that he is not a kid who, you know, you could sit down and dictate, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Jordan needs to be entertained. He's made me a better mother out of the process. Yeah. I wondered when I became pregnant with a child that I did not name him right away yet, and this was in the first few weeks of his life, conceived. I was terrified because I was like, how the heck is this supposed to happen? I am a dancer, you know, the process of my body changing, all of that. And the dance training has allowed me to understand the ritual of motherhood, which is now allowing me, you know, give and take a few changes, is allowing me to be able to have these really weird conversations, or to watch him grow, both of them really. You know, and I do that because, you know, as a dancer at the studio, whether you feel good or bad, you show up and you put in your all. And many times you find out when you put all of yourself in, you feel much better and you learn so much more than when you first got into the studio. Right. You know, and in those days when it's not happening, at least you know you've tried and that you need to go home and rest. Yep. And so that was one of the main things that I learned as a dancer, you know how to parent and to understand the process of parenting, you know, and that leads us right to the art of being a woman.
As we were talking about, I mean, speaking of the boys and the things that terrify us, and I have to acknowledge and say this because we have several in our life, women who are single mothers, either because they chose to be, because they divorced, or as one of our friends says, uncoupled.
I like that.
You know, and I just have to say,
or widowed,
or widowed, shouts out to y'all.
Yes,
we
Can we take a moment?
Oh, girl, you know what we should do?
What?
We should have a shout out to the single mommy segment.
Yes, all the single mommies, 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 all the single mommies. Put your hands up. Walk in the club.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, I think we're gonna do that. We're gonna shout out a single mommy.
Yes, girl, because y'all hold it down. I learned a lot from y'all.
Listen,
single mamas always. You want to talk about process?
Listen,
they got the process down, baby.
Listen, but you know, and many of them, you know, though uncoupled or you know whatever, I have watched so many of them in our lives who co-parent so successfully, and without drama. You know, there's such a another episode for another day. But I have watched you co-parent so successfinding and find ways to
at least make it work without looking like there's drama.
Exactly. And allow finding ways to make sure that, not even just allow, but to make sure that that child has their father in their life, because good or bad. Well, and you know, there are different skill sets. Some people are horrible partners, but very good fathers. But you know, one of the things that speaking of process, in the process of being married, had to learn how to do was let Jonathan be a daddy. He is a very while he has similarities to my father, he is a very different type of man. And you know, my dad was an intellectual. He was an introvert. He was very quiet and solitary. Like he had two good friends our whole life, you know. You know, I have, and part of this might be, you know, like due to my mother's death and he was grieving and all of that, but like, I don't remember him like playing with us as kids, but my fondest memories of him were the conversations we had once I was a teenager. Like, he was like, okay, now you're like a person and I can talk to you. And I know how to do this talking thing. So this we can do, you know. So he's a very different type of father from Jonathan. Jonathan is extremely hands-on.
Jonathan takes all the kids from the neighborhood. He's like, let's all play football.
You know, and he is that outdoors guy. He's a sports guy. He is very physically active and athletic. He is equally that as he is artistic and intellectual. You know, I married a genius.
Yes, you did.
But so he's very different, and you know, we talk about all the time how one of the hardest things to do as a parent is do something different from what your parents did. And so, you know, I had a stepmother. You know, take all the negative things aside, she was a very micromanaging person in terms of motherhood and the way that she manifested that. So it was like, I want you to clean the kitchen and you're going to clean it like this and you're going to put this away and all of the check marks must be checked off, you know, kind of thing. And so it's like and she basically like didn't even really leave space for dad to do any of that. So I had to learn how to, even though I didn't do it the way that she did it, I had to learn how to leave space for Jonathan to get in there and parent his way. And be like, you know, you don't have to do all this, girl. Why you acting like you're a single mama inside of a marriage?
Right.
Back up.
And so, you know what? I have a similar experience in that. Well, I had y'all know Dr. Woods. Come on now. How many of you all know Dr. Woods? And if you don't know him, you should. Okay?
Everyone should know Dr. Woods.
I wish you could Google him, but he does.
No, he come up.
Does he?
Oh yeah, girl, he come up. Dr. William Woods. No, anyway.
But he, it's funny because as many people that he's been a father figure to, I never ever once felt cheated of my father. He was always around. He was that dad who would take us, because we grew up in the Kinsman area, y'all. Let's keep it real. We grew up there, and so bike riding in the neighborhood probably not such a good thing to do. I would never know it because what he would do was, we'd all go to a place outside into the metro parks that seemed like a world away, and we'd spend the whole day bike riding. Yay! And then he would do things like, when we didn't have money, we would do stuff like wait until the dead of winter. Risk our lives. I didn't know we were risking our lives. But risking our lives to go out to a local park. We take our own hot dogs, our own charcoal. He'd take a camera. We would roast hot dogs. My mom would make hot chocolate. And, I never thought anything of it. I was like, this is great. So they, as a young couple with young girls, they knew how to live richly. And so I have that, have that part of my mother and my father in me. But then I have Joseph, who's, his mom is beautiful. She's her parent also committed suicide. And that was her final parent because her mother passed away from a strange type of cancer or something. The father went in such a deep depression that he committed suicide. And that broke their whole family apart. And so my mother-in-law, has been a survivor of that. And so, and, with that came children and poverty. And, she was basically at one point she was a single mother of 5. Single mother of 5 in New York City. Has endured burned down buildings and not great living. And my husband grew up in all of that. And so he didn't have a father. So a lot of what he does is just, I'm not sure how he does it. I'm very grateful, and part of my problem sometimes is that I will compare, and I don't mean to, because I'm like, well, my dad did it like this, so you ought to do it like that, because he's still living and you can still be like him if you're lucky, and he's just like, he's cool with that, but Joseph Cooper got to do it in his own little way. And so that means I got to step aside and, kind of watch the mistakes happen. If there are any. Sometimes there aren't any. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, you learned how to do this, is great. But, there's a lot of give and take and a lot of, and talk about processing.
Right, that's part of it. Yeah.
That is really it, is to be able to, it is kind of like this. It's kind of like when you're collaborating choreography, or when you're collaborating with when you're writing together, and you want to say what you have to say, or write what you have to write, or direct in the way that you want to direct, or choreograph in the way you want to or paint. I don't know if people collaborate and paint, but when you're sharing an idea of what you're doing, when you have to take time to sit back, sit back and look at it and allow the other person or the other situation to happen. A lot of times when you do that, you'll find that the process becomes a richer experience and it's better for you.
Yeah.
And that is the art. That is the art. It's one of them.
Yeah, in the theater.
Yes.
In especially in improvisational technique, everybody will tell you the first rule of improv is yes and. That's the rule. It's called yes and ... Right? And so the way yes and works, if you're improv, like, most of us have seen, Saturday Night Live and that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? And they give them these crazy circumstances, in this, game or exercise. It's like, you're at a party and this person comes in and you have to guess who they are. Right? So somebody's at the party and then the person comes in and they've pulled a card and they have a thing and their card says something like, they're a Martian from a frozen planet. And so the person who started the scene is pretending they're in Florida on the beach, but then here comes frozen planet, Martian. And they come in with whatever they say, and they're like, wow, I've never seen snow like this. Well, if the first partner says, it's not snowing, we're in Florida, the scene ends, right? But if they say, you're right, I thought this was sand. Oh my God, my feet are freezing. What are we going to do? Then the scene continues. So that's the yes and, right? Wow. So if your partner in life, if you see a situation, something happens with the kids and you're trying and so you're there and you rush in and you're like, I'm going to do this thing. And they come in and they say, yes. And we could do this, mommy. And you're like, no. This is the way it is. This is what's happening. Blah, blah, blah. The scene ends and you cut them off, and you cut down an opportunity.
There you go. There's the ballet world.
Right.
No disrespect, y'all. But that's a traditional old.
Right. The traditional old ballet.
Right.
But there's a lot of that. And that is very easy to do on stage once you learn how to do it. Yeah. And the thing about life is learning how to constantly say yes and.
As she scowls her eyes.
Right. In your day to day with the kids, with the partner, because it's like, there are things that, I got 2 girls and 3 boys.
Bless them.
I did not grow up with brothers. And most of my cousins that were, closer to my age when we were growing up were girls.
Yeah. I feel you on that.
So I didn't grow up with this jumping off the couch.
Girl, do you understand?
Flipping off the wall and walking across the, whatever.
Yo, we run into the wall and knock ourselves out, and that's fun. That is not fun. All right, here's a better one. If you give a little girl a book, she'll read it. Oh, the little bunny rabbit went down the street. You give a little boy a book, say, read, this is your favorite book. This is a dinosaur book. He's like, great. He'll eat it, he'll rip it, he'll slide on it like a skateboard, he will pee on it, he will throw it in the grass, he'll leave it out in the snow or the hurricane for years and years, and then be like, and you're like, I thought this was your favorite book. Yeah, it's my favorite book. That's just, I'm a boy.
Okay. And it depends because, my number 3 can roll with the best of them, but when number 2, the oldest boy, was about 2 and really started like doing a lot of that stuff just because that's just who he was, naturally. The sound you heard the most in my house was, and Jonathan would constantly be saying, baby, calm down. It's all right. I'm like, it's gonna hurt himself. He's gonna die. He's like, girl, he's fine. He is fine. And I was like, Yeah, that was much of all of you all who have boys. How many of you have been like, well, this was me. Stop. Did you hear what I said? Stop it. Are you listening to me? Go. No. That was that. We
in
talk
our
all the time about if we were to ever transcribe our phone conversations, people would think we were crazy. I know, girl. And then if you don't put that down, right?
And while I'm laughing, then there's like, mommy, what?
Right.
What now?
Do not lick your brother. What are you doing? These are things that have been said in both of our houses.
Yeah. Take your sister out of a headlock. Right. What? I love her.
Right.
That was when she was a baby. Jordan, why do you have your sister in a headlock? What? I love her. Right. That is not how we show love.
Oh my gosh. So yes, and I have one who, as long as she understands why, she'll do whatever you tell her to do. Yeah. But she has to understand why. Yeah. This because I said so stuff.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't.
I tried.
Now I have one that does work with. If I say go do this, he's like okay, and he goes and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But then I have the one that's like, but why should I do it like that? Well, what if I want to do it this way?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I want you to do it the other way. Why? And
because you'll be safer.
Right. Oh, and sometimes it's not that, and that's where the yes and came for me. Sometimes it was because that is the way I was taught to do it, so that is the way you're going to do it.
Right.
And sometimes it's like for peace.
Yeah.
You know what? you can do it that way. That's fine.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, literally. Knock yourself out. Literally. You're going to be knocked out on the floor if you do it. But go ahead and see if that works for you.
So long as it gets done.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so all of that, all of those things and fun detours to say.
Yes.
Yes, and I guess is the takeaway of the day.
Constant improvisational nature of the arts will help us as mothers. It reminds us that we can do it.
There we go.
How about that?
There we go. There we go. So the process does not end, but this podcast must.
Yes. We got to get our kids. They come in. What time your kids come in?
Oh, I got about an hour.
Oh, Lord Jesus. I can feel my internal clock going, you only have a little bit of peace time left.
Girl, we have gone all around the mountain today.
Yes, we have.
We went to the hurricane and back, to grad school and back, to the play and back, to the children and the marriage.
And still want to go and see Girls Trip again. For the fourth time. Because, I did see it with my husband.
I saw it with mine too, girl. It was fun. And we went to like a late show after all the kids were in bed. And we were...
Wait, didn't you have an anniversary? Did we talk about this?
Oh, we did that already. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It take me... sorry, y'all.
No, because remember, we tried to go see it for my birthday.
That's right.
Me and Jonathan. So then me and you wound up seeing it the next day.
Right.
And then he and I went out for the anniversary a week and a half after that.
That's right.
And
because we were in... someplace. I forget where.
So, but we went Monday night. Yes. And I think it was 4 couples. We were in there. We had it all to ourselves. You could tell everybody we were all looking at each other like, late night, date night. You got it. Children in the bed. And we cut up and hollered and laughed. Yeah. And what was so funny watching it with him, girl, I cried and cried and cried on all the little touching parts. I just
me too. When I was watching with Jordan, Joseph, I was like, of course, Jordan, I won't tell you the movie if you haven't seen it, but the grapefruits. Oh, that's all he was concerned about. Grapefruits.
And grapefruits. Laugh and laugh and laugh. And laughed at them grapefruits. Lord, if you haven't seen it, you got about 1 more week and we're going to talk about grapefruits. For real. Spoilers.
I know.
All the spoilers.
SG.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. All right,
harmonizers.
Yes, harmonizers.
Go out and apply yes and to your life and harmonize.
Yes. You know what? Always hit us up. How can we be contacted, Miss Nina?
You are getting so good at this because I was about to hit the stop button. You can contact us several ways. Please follow us on Facebook, Harmonize with Nina and Kenya. You can follow us on Twitter at Harmonize Pod, on Instagram at Harmonize Pod. Girl, where else? Oh, you can email us at harmonizenk@gmail.com. All of these things are in the show notes with links. Mm-hmm. And we are on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. We're on Stitcher. Mm-hmm. We are on Podbean. If you follow us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe, please subscribe and rate us 5 stars.
Yes.
Okay?
Nothing less.
That's right. If you don't want to rate us 5 stars, why are you listening?
Yeah, right. Go someplace.
Just kidding. Grow with us.
Yes,
okay?
Grow, please.
But follow us, subscribe, like, share the episodes so that your friends can join the people of France and Mexico and Spain and Kenya and Brazil.
Yes. Ungawa. Okay. I'll leave that alone.
We gonna hum.
Ready?
Oh, I thought you was about to bust out.
I wasn't.